Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to be looking at McFarlane DC Multiverse, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, Superman vs. Armored Batman. I got this thing from GameStop.com. They actually shipped it a couple days early, and it was on sale. This thing was about $35 instead of the usual $40, but GameStop fucked up, and they fucked up bad. As most of you guys know, with my Batman figures, I always get one to keep unopened and one to open. And I ordered and paid for two of these, but they only shipped one. As soon as I saw the box in front of my house, I knew something was wrong. That box was not big enough for two of these 2-packs. I immediately called GameStop customer service. They rushed another one out to me and gave me some points for the inconvenience. So I definitely appreciate them taking care of me, but still annoying and disappointing to say the least. I believe the Superman here is identical to the single release, and this Batman is very slightly different from the Armored Batman Blue Edition that's already come out. But don't worry, we'll check all that out in this video. So let's go check out the packaging. As you can see, DC Multiverse, Superman vs. Armored Batman, ages 12 plus. Here they are in the package. Doesn't look like either one comes with any traditional accessories. The single release of Batman at least had some alternate hands. Looks like they have 2 collector's cards, 2 display stands, and a large diorama base. One side of the package, Superman vs. Armored Batman for Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Other side, Superman vs. Armored Batman. The bottom got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. The back side, here they are, locked in combat. And here are a bunch of other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures you should check out. So no further ado, let's open them up. Here's this 2-pack. Next to the single release of Superman from The Dark Knight Returns. I noticed the single release has 2 alternate hands that this 2-pack does not have. And here's the 2-pack next to the Armored Batman, both Standard and Blue Edition, both of which also came with alternate hands that the 2-pack does not include. Here are all the 2-packs McFarlane has made so far. So far there are 7 of them. The next one is Batman vs. Hush. Each 2-pack has been Batman themed in one way, shape, or form so far. Who knows if the one after Hush is going to be Batman themed, but if I were a betting man, I would bet on it. Alright, now that we have these figures out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. A little disappointed in the accessory department. They come with 2 display stands, 2 collector's cards, and this pretty cool diorama base. Now the reason I say I'm disappointed, they don't come with any alternate hands. The single release of Batman and Superman both had alternate hands, and these figures, there's no price break. It's $40 for the 2-pack. Yeah, I may have got mine on sale at GameStop.com, but the suggested retail is $40, 2 times the price of single figures, so a little annoying. You don't get all the bells and whistles that you got from the original releases. Beyond that, Superman appears to be 100% identical, and I was a little worried that was going to be the case. And Batman, very similar, but a different head sculpt. It's exactly what I expected, but I was hoping maybe Superman would have a different expression or something like that. I mean, I guess a single release of Superman was $25, but that's due to having part of the Build-A-Horse piece. Now that being said, this is a very cool themed 2-pack, Armored Batman vs. Superman. What better combination? This was one of the first times Batman took on Superman, and he was prepared. So let's take a look at him. As you can see, Batman here, the head is different, a little more basic, more similar to the art from The Dark Knight Returns, less of McFarlane's spin, but the rest of the body is still like that. Big barrel torso, one piece. You can see the texturing. It's definitely simulating armor on top of a regular suit underneath. You can see the texturing on the suit is different than the armor. Looks very good. Single jointed elbow. Looks like double jointed knees. Giant boots, the straps. Sculpt and details fantastic. Those signature cleated boots that Batman stomped in Superman's face. Utility belt. The cape is textured just wonderfully movable. This is the 3rd time we've gotten this Armored Batman, and it does not disappoint. Then of course you have Superman, and this is 100% the same as the other Superman. It's a good figure. The face, it's rather ugly, but it's supposed to be. I think they did a great job capturing the Dark Knight Returns art in a plastic form. Wavy hair. Big, bulky body. Superman logo looks pretty good. just muscles on top of muscles. Single jointed elbow, double jointed knee, classic traditional red and blue outfit. The coloring is very good. Cape, a little bit flowing, mostly straight down. Overall, great figures. Definitely disappointed that Superman's identical, a little more of the same. You don't get too much if you already have both these figures, but a completist like me keeps on buying them. And even though they don't come with alternate hands, they're the same sculpt as the single releases, so hands pop off with complete ease. So if you do have the previous versions, you can use the interchangeable hands with these guys. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures individually. We'll check out their accessories, or possibly lack of accessories, height and articulation. We'll compare them with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, some other Armored Batman, Dark Knight Returns, Superman, and many other figures from different various companies. And me, being a huge Batman fan, we're going to start off with Batman. Here are all the accessories that both figures have. And I wouldn't really call the hands accessories, as they don't have any swappable hands. But one accessory they do share is this diorama base. Now it's mostly in gray, could have some really nice details brought out by painting this thing, but it has that sort of comic Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns look. Trash can all messed up, street posts, little sewer grate, tire. This is in the middle of Batman fighting Superman and they're destroying everything around them. Now I will say, this thing feels very thin. I feel like I could break it pretty easily, so be careful with it. It's rather hollow and basic. Does have a couple of peg holes for the figures to stand and be locked into combat. Overall, it's pretty cool. I could probably incorporate this into my overall action figure city. Here's Batman and Superman on the display stand, locked into combat with one another. Here are all the display stands McFarlane has made so far, most of which came with the 2-packs. Your 2 Batman came with one on the far right. The first couple 2-packs didn't have any diorama bases. Batman versus Joker from Arkham Asylum, and the Red Hood versus Nightwing. Would have been nice if they had some, but I'm really happy they're including them moving forward. The one with Batman versus Hush looks really cool as well. Here's Batman taking on Superman on top of the display stand. Graffiti in the background in the streets of Gotham City. Rubble all around them from the destruction they've caused. Or possibly, with a little bit more of a traditional setting, destroyed building from all the destruction they've caused. So here's the Armored Batman. He doesn't come with any accessories, which is kind of disappointing. Good looking figure, pretty much identical to the previous one, except the head. And speaking of his head, here's a closer look. It's very similar to the other one, although the helmet is a little more basic, less sculpt in detail, less of a McFarlane twist. It has this kind of ugly sort of sculpting line at the top there, just looks a little off. Angry expression, triangle eyes, everything straight lines, very pointy. And here's the previous Armored Batman Blue Edition's head. You can see it's got more lines on it, a little bit more of a modern tech look to it. This is the one that was individually released, not from the 2-pack. Here are the 2 different figures next to each other. The differences are subtle, but at least there are some differences, unlike the Superman figure. Beyond that, there are no differences between this 2-pack Armored Batman and the individual Armored Batman Blue Edition release. Now let's look at his accessories. Let's start with the boring stuff. Here's a display stand, typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, says DC at the bottom. It's got one peg for the peg holes on his feet, very thin, very basic. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of the Armored Batman standing there. Armored Batman from Batman the Dark Knight Returns. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Here's the 2-packs collector's card, next to the individual release of the Armored Batman Blue Edition. And here, next to the collector's card from the Black and Gray Edition. And I mentioned earlier being kind of annoyed there were no accessories. I understand why it didn't come with a Batman sonic gun. Warner Brothers has a no gun mandate for any officially licensed DC figures, but no alternate hands is pretty annoying. Here are the 2 alternate hands that came with the individual release that are not part of the 2-pack, both some semi-open hands. Here's Batman from the 2-pack with the hands he came with. The right hand is a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and the left hand is a fisted hand. And here he is with the two alternate hands he does not come with. They are interchangeable for this individual release. They're both some open hands. But I will say, if I had to pick one pair of hands, he definitely came with the right pair. Another accessory would have been nice if he came with would have been his sonic gun. I believe McFarlane intended him to come with this, as he has this trigger finger hand. But we all know Warner Brothers won't allow even a sci-fi looking gun to come with their figures. This one here came with a Mattel basic version of a Batman vs Superman figure. Pretty cheap figure. Accessory is sort of a throwback or homage to The Dark Knight Returns. It fits and works perfect with this McFarlane figure. Mattel also made a sonic gun. Doesn't fit the McFarlane hand very well. That one fits in the Mafex armored Batman's hand perfect though. Here's Batman holding this old Mattel sonic gun. Like I said, it fits in his hand perfect. Trigger finger even goes into the trigger. Now they're taking a pretty good look at the figure, his accessories, and some other accessories you can use to enhance this figure. Now let's check out his height. And this guy's a big boy, as he should be. Batman's pretty big, but Batman in an armored suit should be even bigger. The bottom of the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.75 inches tall, which can translate to about 19.5 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 7.9 inches tall. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far, down about that far, not too bad. He can tilt his head from one side to the other, give him a good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint goes out 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. Shoulder pads do a pretty nice job going on top there. He's got that butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, just increasing the range of motion. Looks like no bicep cut there. Single jointed elbow, about a 90-degree bend, and it has a rotation to offset the bicep cut. His wrist can rotate. It's going to be hinged, but don't get too much out of that. Torso, one solid area. Ball joint his waist. Rotate around, go forward and back. Legs, go out about this far. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, minimal. Legs go forward about that far, not too much. Back, about that much. Double jointed knees go back that far. Then his ankle here, and it's all hidden under his shin guard there. Forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and he's got toe articulation. Now let's check him out next to some other armored and Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. Here's the armored Batman from the 2-pack, next to the individual release of the blue version. And here, next to the black and gray version, I think of this one as the Dark Knight Returns armored Batman, done in Batman vs Superman colors. Here's a McFarlane armored Batman, next to Mattel's DC Multiverse armored Batman from the Dark Knight Returns. I have the standard version. I have one with an unmasked Bruce Wayne head, and then I have an all-black cover variation. The unmasked Bruce Wayne head came with the Mattel Flash from the Dark Knight Returns sequel. And then, next to the Mafex armored Batman from Dark Knight Returns. And here's the McFarlane standard Batman from Dark Knight Returns, next to the armored version. Armored version 1 is considerably bigger, but it does make sense, being in this giant armored suit. And here's my version of Bruce Wayne in civilian attire. This one is intended to scale alongside the McFarlane figures. It's another version of that unmasked Batman head that came with the Flash, but it's on a wrestling body. Nice, big, bulky Dark Knight Returns Bruce Wayne. And it does fit on this armored body pretty good. Peg's a little bit too tall, but that can be modified pretty easily. You'll see that later in the video during the action scenes. Here's this McFarlane armored Batman, next to 4 different variations of the DC Direct Dark Knight Returns Batman. There is a 5th variation that I don't have. And now, here's this Batman next to a DC Direct Batman for the Dark Knight Returns, based off the appearance in the new Batman Adventures. Then, next to a couple of Mattel unarmored Batman from Dark Knight Returns. And here, next to 4 different Mezco 112 collective Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. There are actually 2 that I don't have, but they're extremely rare. The black and white version, and the Puerto Rico Comic-Con exclusive version. And finally, next to the Mafex unarmored Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. The armored Batsuit from Batman vs Superman is very similar, and based off the Dark Knight Returns armored Batsuit. In fact, that whole movie has a ton of homages to the Dark Knight Returns. Here's a McFarlane armored Batman next to a bunch of different versions of the Batman vs Superman armored Batman by Mezco, Mafex, Mattel, and DC Direct. And now, onto the Superman figure. This is everybody's favorite Boy Scout, but it's a potential what-if future when he became a pawn of the American government. This is not exactly your traditional-looking Superman, a lot bigger, a lot bulkier, but he's in the signature red, yellow, and blue costume. This guy is 100% identical to the Superman that was released as part of the Build-A-Horse wave, which definitely disappoints me. I was hoping for at least one minor difference. Like I said, absolutely no differences. Not even a facial expression, different hand, different paint scheme, some battle damage, anything. But it's kind of become expected in these 2-packs. One figure has some minor differences, and the other one is usually the same. Here's a closer look at Superman's face. It's a pretty ugly Superman figure, and it should be. The art from The Dark Knight Returns was very stylized. They did a great job capturing the art into plastic form, especially on Superman and Joker's faces. Here are his accessories, just the display stand and collector's card. We already looked at Batman's display stand. Here's Superman's collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of the Superman figure from The Dark Knight Returns. Superman from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Backside, we have a description. If you want to read it, pause now. Here's a 2-pack collector's card on the left, next to the Build-A-Horse release of Superman on the right. And I mentioned his lack of accessories. One thing he could have come with are these 2 alternate hands. These came with the individual release of Superman. There's some open, grabbing, maybe even choking hands. They are interchangeable with this Superman if you have both the 2-pack and the individual release. Here's Superman with the hands he came with. These are his fists. And here's Superman with these alternate hands that he did not come with. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.25 inches tall, which can translate to about 18.5 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here. Of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far, down about that far. He can tilt his head from one side to the other. Give him good amount of personality. Shoulders, a ball joint, goes at more than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. Butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, just increasing that range of motion there. No bicep cut. Single jointed elbow with rotation. His wrists can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Ball joint in his torso, rotate around, go forward and back. Another ball joint in his waist, rotate around, forward and back, giving him pretty good range of motion in his torso area. Legs, not quite splits, but pretty close. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, minimal. Legs go forward about that far, go back, not too much. Double jointed knees, go back this far. And one thing I'm going to point out, the paint or the color on the knee is a little bit different than legs. Just kind of annoying there. Ankles, little ball in them. Forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Now let's check him out next to some other Superman figures from The Dark Knight Returns. Here he is, next to the individual McFarlane version. Once again, absolutely no differences. Then, next to a couple of DC Direct Superman figures from The Dark Knight Returns. He's actually had 3 different releases, but 2 look exactly the same. And finally, next to a couple of Mattel Superman figures from The Dark Knight Returns. Here's Batman lighting up the bat signal, taunting Superman. Now let's switch to a different setting. Here's a city diorama set up, and Batman is confronting Superman. Batman gets right into his face. He's not going to stand down to Superman. The first thing Batman does, pulls out a sonic gun, shoots it towards Superman. Of course that has little effect on Superman. Batman then grabs the light pole behind him and sends the electric current straight to Superman. At this point, Superman's had enough. He comes out to Batman and rips his helmet off. Batman knows he can't beat Superman in a physical fight. He brings his boy Oliver Queen to get some revenge against Superman. Oliver Queen points that kryptonite arrow right towards Superman. This has been a long time coming for him. Superman, with his heightened reflexes, catches the kryptonite arrow, but it's not enough. It disperses kryptonite all over him. Batman then gets the upper hand, starts beating on Superman. He tells him, "I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. The time has come. You know it in your soul." And then Batman proceeds to have a heart attack, collapses, and Superman's looking over him with regret. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here are these two figures, next to the 4 individual figures that make the Build-A-Horse wave. Add in the giant horse to the background, and you've got the entire wave. Add in the Platinum Chase variants of Batman and Robin, and you have almost a complete collection. But wait, there's more. Add in the 2 individual Armored Batman releases, and you have McFarlane's entire The Dark Knight Returns collection, and I would welcome some more. The Mutant Leader would be at the top of that list, but I would take anything they would throw at us, especially if Son of Batman and a mutant gang member. I would love to army build those guys. Here's his Armored Batman, next to several different Batman figures. These are all based off the comics. He's larger than them, and it makes sense. He's in a big, bulky armored suit. Then, next to several more Batman figures. These are from different various forms of media. And here's Superman, next to several different McFarlane Superman figures. 2 of which are from the comics, and 2 of which are from different forms of media. Now let's check them out, next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here they are, next to a couple of Lex Luthor figures. Then, next to a light-up version of the Hazmat Suit Batman and Superboy Prime. And here, next to the Mortal Kombat 11 Joker and the Birds of Prey Harley Quinn. Then, next to a couple of Lobo figures. And here, next to the Speed Force Flash from Zack Snyder's Justice League and the Reverse Flash from DC's Rebirth comics. Then, next to the Batman Beyond Unmasked Batwoman and the Atomic Edition of Blight. And here they are, next to a couple of General Zod figures. Then, next to the Future State Dark Detective and Batman figures. Here they are, next to the Rebirth Batman and the Infinite Frontier Robin. And now, next to all 3 variations of McFarlane's Swamp Thing Mega figure. And here they are, next to the Batman 3 Joker's Wave. Then, next to the Gotham Knights figures. And here they are, next to McFarlane's The Batman Collection. And finally, here they are, next to the Justice League Endless Winter Collective Build of Frost King Wave. Now let's check them out, next to some other action figures from different various companies, to see how they fit in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix them with. Since they're McFarlane toys, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. And I'm going to include as many Batman and Superman figures as I can during these comparisons. Since we already compared them with a bunch of McFarlane Batman and Superman figures, here they are, next to a bunch of other McFarlane toys. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to some more McFarlane toys, these are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jakks Pacific wrestling figures. And here they are, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here, with some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestling figures. And here they are, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, next to some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here they are, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Overall, this is a very nice action figure set. Presentation is great. Each of the figures individually are fantastic. Great renditions of the art into plastic form. But it's just a little bit too much of the same. Batman is almost identical, except the head. Honestly, it looks a little more basic. And Superman is 100% identical. Sculpt, paint job, articulation, great, no issues there. Accessories, pretty much non-existent. If I were to rate these guys as a set, I'd want to give it an 8 out of 10. But as someone that has them before, I'm going to give them a 6 out of 10. Not enjoying them that much, because it's pretty much exactly what I already had. I do hate when McFarlane forced you to double dip, but in this situation, they did not force you. I did it voluntarily. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.